everybody, I'm Ebony. This is Ebony's Creativity. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. Now, if you've watched any of my furniture flips, you know that I love a good Minwax stain. That's primarily the only stain that I have here on hand, and that's my go-to stain whenever I need to stain anything. But today I want to try a little something different. Now, I've been looking online trying to find things to do, just like you have, I'm sure. And I come across a homemade stain, which is food safe and made from food items that you probably already have on hand. So since we're all stuck at home, I decided that I would go ahead and experiment with this stain and see what kind of results I could get from it. So if you'd like to know what I'm talking about and how to get this stain for yourself out of items that you already have in your home, just keep right on watching. Now, just in case you are new to the world of woods and woodworking and furniture flipping and all of that, I'm going to try to explain to you what a stain is. Now, if you have a piece of wood, say like this cutting board that I'm going to be working on today, it's a natural wood tone. Wood comes in, tans and brown tones. If I wanted to completely change the color of this, I would add a paint over top to change the color. If I want to kind of maintain the wood look but change the color, then I would use a stain. So I love wood cutting boards. I love wood accents in my kitchen. But this is a little bit too light for me. Most of the wood in here is dark. I don't know if you can see my cabinet up there, but the woods in here are really dark. So this kind of pops, and I just want it to kind of come down some in color. So I want it to be darker, but I still want it to maintain the wood look. If I were to paint over it, it would completely cover it and you would not be able to really see the grain of the wood. I love wood grain. I love wood. I love woodworking. So I want this piece to continue to have wood grain, but I just want the color to be darker. So that's what you would use a stain for. So like I said, we're going to see if I can make a stain that will give me a great result like Minwax does out of materials that we all have in the house, because I don't want to be going out buying anything. We're supposed to be quarantining. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my recipe for my homemade stain. We're going to do a couple of experiments and see what happens, and then we'll reconvene here shortly. Okay. Here is what you will need. A piece of wood. Mine is a cutting board, but if you're doing a small jury box or whatever you're doing, you'll need your piece of wood. You'll need a sanding block, because before you stain, you always want to sand it down and make it all smooth and open the pores, because wood is porous. You want to make sure that the pores are open when you are applying your stain. So you'll need your piece of wood, you'll need a sanding block or a piece of sandpaper. You will need a measuring cup. You will need a half cup measurement and a big jar. This is just an old empty applesauce container. You will need coffee. I do not drink this coffee, but this is what they have at Dollar Tree. I didn't want to waste my coffee that I do drink on this. I had this on hand already because I knew I would be doing this project. But if you don't want to be going out getting anything. So use whatever you have on hand. 2 tea bags. I don't know if I already said that. And you'll need 30 ounces of hot water. So you can see that steaming. And so that is pretty much everything that we're going to need. I am going to open up my tea bags and put those in. You can go ahead and add the water. And that's why you needed the measuring cup, is to measure out your 30 ounces. But you could also use your Keurig if you want. I just put these cups in the microwave. So pour that in. Hope I don't get burnt. So you can get the tea going. All right. So I've got my water and my tea in my jar. And next, I'm going to add a half a cup of coffee. And it doesn't have to be exact. It can be a heaping half a cup. And I'm just gonna try my best to get this in here. And I wasted some of it, so I'm gonna just add a little bit more coffee. And that's what it looks like. If you have cocoa powder, a lot of people's recipes use that, but I don't have cocoa powder. I have hot chocolate. That's about the best I can do. But if you have cocoa powder, go ahead and add that. I'm just going to kind of stir this up. And then I'm going to wait for it to cool so that I can work with it. So I know I said stir, but just give it a shake. Make sure you use a container with a lid in case you don't use all your stain today. You will have some more left on hand. You don't want to shake too hard because you don't want this coming out and burning you. So that's what my stain looks like. I'm just going to put it down, let it rest. Oh, you also need a foam brush or either a rag, a microfiber cloth. So yeah, here's my mixture. And I'm just going to kind of let it sit and do its thing. And once it's cool, I'll be back so we can do the next steps. All right, next, we're going to work on sanding our piece. So I'm just going to take, oh, and you can see the wood is going sideways. So that's the way I'm going to do. You wouldn't want to go like this. You want to follow the grain of the wood. So my wood is going this way, and that's the way I'm going to sand. I would not want to sand this way, only the way that the wood is. All right, so that's what my piece looks like now. And I'm still waiting on the stain to cool down, but I'm going to grab a rag and wipe this down. So it's ready. Wipe off your area. All right, so next we will start to apply the stain. This is what it looks like. And I'm just going to take my brush. Well, make sure you can see. There we go. I'm going to take my brush, dip it in my stain, and just rub it on. And you can do generous layers. Really get your brush wet. All right, now the way wood works, it's only gonna soak up so much at a time. It's porous, but it'll only kind of accept in what it can handle at the time. So if you want it to be darker, you're gonna have to do several layers because it only accepts some from the first layer, some from the second layer, some from the third layer, and then the rest it will not accept. So you can see how it's kind of, some of it is kind of very wet still, even so to where it's dripping off right now that I'm holding this up. That's the excess. Wood only accepts what it accepts. And then if you want to make it darker, you have to continue to apply coats. So it's already soaked in what it's going to accept on this first pass. And that's why you'll need a rag or a towel to wipe the excess off. Here's my rag. It's just an old piece of t-shirt. You don't need anything fancy, but you simply wipe in the same direction that you sanded in, the same direction that the wood is going. If you see any coffee grounds, like I have one right here, a couple actually, it's no big deal. Don't try to scrape it out. Just kind of try to brush it off when you're wiping. All right. The thing about staining is you have to let it completely dry in between coats. So our first coat is on. You can see there's none dripping off anymore. There's no pools. It's kind of just smooth and wet. So for the purposes of my experiment, I am going to use my blow dryer to dry this. But you don't have to do that. You can just apply your coat and walk away. Also, let me do the sides. You can let the kids do this. Help teach them patience. Let them do one coat and then tell them just walk away and come back in a couple of hours when this is dry. But for my purposes of showing you how deep the color will go, I am just going to use my blow dryer and speed up the process a little bit. All right, so after the first coat, you can see the color got much lighter. So from what I can tell, this stain will work, but you're going to have to do several coats of it. And when I'm saying several, I mean several. So I'm going to go ahead and apply another coat, same way. Generous coat. Take my stain. And you can, normally if you're using a stain, you would do a light sanding in between coats. But this color is so faint that if I tried to do that, this would take 99 years. So I'm not going to stain between coats. I'm just going to do my best to get as equal of a coat as I can. So you can kind of see it does add color, but I think it's really going to take a long time. Or not a long time necessarily because it's a small piece, but it's going to take. And if you don't remember, this is where we started. So this is where we are now. So again, and this time I'm not going to rub a lot of excess off. I'm just going to, I can just leave it on. Because like I said, it's going to take forever if I try to do it as if I was working with a chemical filled product. But again, I'm just going to grab my blow dryer and dry this. All right, so this is what it's looking like after the second coat. So it is getting a little darker. All right, so here is my final result. I'm going to keep it like this. This would have taken about 5 or 6 coats. I kind of lost count, to be honest. But as you can see, it's just a really beautiful color. I just think the darker color looks so much better. Again, here's how it was before, much lighter. And here's how it is now. So it's just a beautiful wash of color. And this is exactly the look I was going for. Now, what I'm going to do, and there are specific oils that you're supposed to use for this. And I did forget to mention oil in the first part where I gave the supply list. But if you have tongue oil, beeswax, try to let you guys see my face. If you have tongue oil, beeswax, mineral oil, linseed oil, which comes from the flaxseed, or walnut oil. All of those oils are best to seal food safe surfaces. So this is a cutting board that I actually do use for cutting my food. So I would want to use one of those oils, but we are in quarantine and I don't have any of those oils right now. So what I'm going to use is just some regular EVOO. And I'm just going to, but like I said, if you have any of those other oils, use those because they're better for this purpose. But I'm going to get a little bit on my piece of paper towel, not that much at all because my surface is not that big. But you want to do this very lightly, so I'm just making sure that it's absorbed into this paper towel. You just want to very lightly put this on as kind of like a protected coat. And you can see this part is not oiled and this part is oiled. So it kind of also gives it a nice little sheen. I'm going to just add a little bit more. And oil my board. And now it is oil. So yeah, this is my finished product. Really beautiful. So again, before it was very scratched up and kind of ugly. Now it is a beautiful new surface with a much better color. Some things to note. The longer you let the stain mixture sit, the better it's going to be. Because the tea and the coffee will kind of have more time to kind of get their true color. This is what I did on a mixture that I had let sit for like a week and a half. The results are not that different, but I do prefer, I think you will get a better result if you let it sit longer, but at least a day. I had some pre-made for the purposes of this video, but again, just let it sit for at least a full day so that the colors have enough time to really develop in the water. But here's it from a swatch from a mixture that I did already. So you can see this is after one coat. This is after the second coat, the third coat, the fourth coat, and then the fifth coat. So you can kind of use this as a guide of how much color you want. And of course, this is the original wood. So this made it just a slight bit darker, a little bit darker, but the color didn't really start to develop until the fourth and fifth coats. I want to say I did 6 on this piece that I have finished here today. And this swatch does not have oil on top. The oil will make it appear a little bit darker. But you can get a really beautiful stain if you have the time to do several coats. With regular stain, 2 coats would probably have done this. Probably even 1 coat, depending on what color you've chosen. You can get this same result, but that is not food safe. You wouldn't want to use that on stuff that you're going to be using to prepare food. So let me know. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment and let me know if you would do this. Like I said, it's something that you can do with the kids during this quarantine, and you don't have to worry about them inhaling any fumes or anything like that. So yeah, this is the finished product. I think it turned out really good. I want to give you a before again so you can see where we started out, what color we started. And then here is my after. So you can see just wood, it's the wood color, but better. Once the oil kind of has a chance to settle in, I will be back with a photo to show you what the real finished product looks like. But so far, this is pretty great. And I didn't have to use any fumes. I didn't have to go buy anything. It's just coffee and tea. It's safe. The kids can do this. So I think there are some real benefits to doing this. So if you have a little bit of time, which we all do right now during the quarantine, and you want to teach the kids something new, or you just want to try something new, go ahead and do this. Go ahead and mix up the coffee and tea and water and get it ready. And then once it's had time to sit and kind of gel together, break out a piece of wood that you have or a cutting board and show the kids. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's all I have for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you try this, or does it take too much time, or is it not a dramatic enough result for you? Let me know what you think. If you want, you can play with the recipe. I would assume that if you wanted it to turn out darker, you would use more coffee and still let it sit for as long as possible before you start it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching my channel. Again, please do not forget to subscribe. Some of you are watching and you are not subscribing. So subscribe to my channel so that I'll know you are enjoying my content. Leave me a comment down below. I will be back with a photo of this when it dries completely. I'm going to just let this last layer kind of dry on its own for a few hours and see what it looks like when I come back. So I will show that to you. But as for me, I'm signing off. So I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have the time, please select and watch another one of my videos. Thank you so much.